Because it was when we left Benin and we're going to Warri, when we left Edo, we're going to Delta State, Asaba. That was when Garbadin mentioned and said, how do we assess the performance of these states? We said, for us to be able to assess the performance of state without any bias, it has to be done scientifically. So we had no means of doing that. You get what I'm saying now? So we just said, let us do a visit, see what is going on, and to be able to report. The essence of it all was to also prepare the journalists to report from a vantage position, that from the position of strength, that they now know these states, and it's not that they are speculating. They can now report and say this is what happened there. So you see, the post media tour, this thing was to present that book. But the position is that the leadership of the NUJ then had its own agenda and wanted to cut awards and give to governors. That was not, it was not part of our agenda. We are not part of it. And some of us, Emeka Nwosu is alive, Khalid is there, we did not support it. It was purely the leadership of the NUJ then that decided to do that for his own personal reasons. I think people can invite him and ask him to come and explain how he came about that award.
Let's talk about this matter now. You're aware of what's going on with chairman of the pension task team of the Rashid Maina, how they've said, look, he's a civil servant. Procedures have got to be followed if he's to be sanctioned or disciplined. You've also heard comments coming from the National Assembly. What do you think about what's going on?
You see, let me tell you, I had cause to argue this thing with some of my friends, and I told them that Maina was overreaching his band. Maina is a civil servant, first and foremost, a deputy director in the Internal Affairs Ministry. Being chairman of a task force does not take him out of the civil service regulation. You hear what I'm saying now? So it was out of place. The way he was going, confronting the National Assembly, he hadn't got that power. I don't think even the head of service had such power. And he went a step further to even sue the Senate. And you cannot go to court when you are a civil servant. You must get permission from the head of service. There are procedures that you must follow.
So do we take for granted that he got permission from head of service before?
I'm not sure he got the permission. If he got the permission, look, let me tell you. I'll give you a practical example. When EFCC was when they started EFCC, then a non-governmental body now said, okay, how do we support EFCC to function? I was asked to. They now set up a non-governmental organization known as the Nationwide Action Against Corruption. So the Nationwide Action Against Corruption, I decided to publish an anti-corruption magazine known as Anti-Corruption Crusader. I was made the editor. I was working as on the parastatal under the Ministry of Information. So now these magazines were not on. It was not to be sold. It was to be distributed freely. So the first edition, I anchored the cover story, and it was distributed to airlines. So people who were coming from abroad or traveling had copies of it. My DG then was coming from England and got a copy of it. He liked it. It was beautiful. Then he now decided to look at him. Lo and behold, it was Gabriel Omohimi that was the editor. He came back home. I was covering an assignment in Ministry of Works. He summoned me. I ran down to the office, only for the DG to tell me that, look, my friend, in the plane, they told me that the cultural attaché in the U.S. cultural attaché in Nigeria told me that they gave you $750,000 to produce this program. So I had to produce this magazine. And I said, oh God, why are you lying? That was what I said. He said, me lying? So it's okay. Go and suspend him. So the admin officers who know how to make use of this civil service regulation, who have never liked my face, now instead of suspending me for 1 or 2 weeks, that one said indefinite suspension.
So the same thing could have happened to Maina.
Yes, Maina, no matter the tax that were given to Maina, he was not supposed. If he had wanted to take on the National Assembly or the Senate, he would have voluntarily retired, gather his facts, and now confront them. Then at that point, nobody could treat him. if let me tell you, I have appeared in your programs once or twice now. If I were still in service by now, a disciplinary committee would have been set up to punish me. You don't do it. That's the public service.
Because actually yesterday we had a talk with Dr. Okukpe, and he said we're trying to look at the civil service rule, and good enough thing you hear, also an assistant director, that's where you retired as an assistant director. Okay, because Maina, in this case, first they were talking about the inability of anyone to sanction Maina until we got this talk from the presidency that the head of service can actually do that.
The head of, that's why I'm telling you. First and foremost, Maina could not have, what Maina, the way Maina was going, it was as if he was an institution on his own. No.
Isn't that what it is?
No.
Because as we speak, he has taken the case to court.
No, he does, as a citizen of Nigeria, he has a right as an individual to go to court. But not when you are still a civil servant. You cannot go to court.
How should he have been punished, or who should have taken the action?
It was the head of service would have called him to order. Because the truth is that the Senate is working based on the Constitution. The head or tail, the president will not want to go on confrontation with the Senate.
In your own experience as a civil servant, would you say that there were people who were rude to the head of service, or had no regard for the head of service,
or more powerful than the head of service?
Yes, there are people like that, but the fact remains that when things come to the head, then they will find, like Maina case. I think Maina had thought that because he was given an assignment that made him how he could confront the Senate. No, I don't think it was proper. As a civil servant, no. What he would have done, if he had enough facts and know that what the Senate was doing, he cannot keep his job. He will voluntarily retire, then now come and confront the Senate with the facts that he has. No, then at that point, he cannot be, now that he's dismissed, I want to get it clear. One thing is that Maina will not get his benefit, and not only that, he cannot seek office.
That's if he's dismissed.
Yes.
His abscondment.
Yes, to go on duty, you see, dismissal.
In the civil service, what does that mean?
Yes, when you go on, when you absent yourself from duty without permission, yes, then dismissal is the end result. So head or tail, he was not going to win. I think people were just leading him on, and he was not careful.
Why do you think this has lasted for so long? I mean,
it has lasted for so long because people were pushing him. He thought he could do what he was doing without nobody checking him. But now, when the Senate they knew what they were doing, when they decided to say, okay, Mr. President, choose between Maina and ourselves, of course they have to sacrifice him.